And now we're honored to have with us our Finance Minister and Premier, who will also address the topic, Premier Paula Cox.
Thank you, Mr. Butler. Acknowledge Mr. Simmons, Minister Wilson, ladies and gentlemen. I think what we're here to have is a conversation, really. And just in the prelude to the meeting starting, about 3 people came up to me. One was concerned about falling revenues and certainly increased expenditure as a small businessman. Another was concerned about the training, hotel development, and also what can be done to take advantage of the green economy. And the third was concerned about family members who are unemployed. That's the state right now that Bermuda has a concern about. How can we succeed and navigate our way through the storm? Is there any light at the end of the tunnel? And if so, what do we have to do in the meantime so we can be successful and try and keep our heads above the water? And I think there are a few points I'd like to make in that before we open up the floor to questions. I think we've got to look at where we stand now and where we see are the future prospects for growth in the economy. And where do we see a sustainable economy? Bermuda is just a small little island. What do we even want the country to look like? Are we prepared to see it differently in terms of high rises? Or do we see opportunities for working smarter and a smarter economy? And I think that much of the key for the future is going to be taking advantage of some of our natural environmental advantages and sort of structural advantages. And I'm talking, when I say that, about the blue economy, which I'm talking about the sea, maritime, marine, and the green economy. And by that I mean the issue of technology. I mean the issue of using what we have to get into less of the normal sort of development and looking at what we can do with a more innovative mechanism. And what I want to say to you is that there are the heroes of the future and the heroes of the economy worldwide are going to be entrepreneurs. And let me say to you that there have been about 3 groups of local developers, not on the hotel side, but who are very keen on marshalling the resources in terms of green economy. And some of the assets and advantages they see are going to have drilled down real benefits to Mr. and Miss and Mrs. Everyman Bermuda. Not just in terms of the cost of fuel, not just in terms of the cost of electricity, and it doesn't in every shape require lots of expenditure. Tomorrow we're sitting on tonight the eve of the throne speech. When the House finishes at the end in the summer, everything that's tabled dies in terms of legislation. So ministers, members of parliament, if they want anything to survive, when the House opens tomorrow after about 2 months of a break, people have to table legislation. One of the papers that's going to be tabled is the white paper, the green white paper on basically on energy. That is so important because it will usher in the opportunity for us to do some things differently and legislatively. And it also has those 3 local developers who are waiting in the wings because our legislation and our framework doesn't currently allow some of the innovation to be able to do that. Yes, we have solar energy, yes, we have duty relief that we provide, but I'm talking about actually transformational ways of doing things differently so it changes the way our economy is based. And also, it opens the way and ushers in some greater entrepreneurial activity. That can help to change and spur spending, Because right now, as you've heard from both Minister Wilson and Mr. Simmons, what we have, I don't know if any of you used to like Greek mythology, but they talked about, I think, Cerberus, where you had the sort of Greek animal where they had two heads facing in opposite directions. That's what you see the economy like right now. We talk about this word, the economy, and many people, when you talk about the economy, your eyes glaze over because you don't really understand. It's that finance, technical stuff. But when I say the two-headed lion or cat, in one end, you want to see credible plans. World Bank's talking about it, IMF's talking about it. They want to see your debt going down. That's on one side. And then you have the push-pull because you also want to see greater economic activity. Greater economic activity does not happen when people are paralyzed by fear. You fear that you're going to lose your job. You fear that your husband's going to lose your job. You fear that you don't have the money to pay for your children who are abroad, so you salt it away. So what happens is you're not spending, and it means that there's very little economic activity. And so what you don't want to happen, because of the lack of a consumer confidence, means that you see people will be laid off. And yet you understand why. Now that's where the role of government comes in. Because we have a little deeper pockets, and also we're an entity which is eternal rather than just a household. Our job is to try and stimulate and provide some relief. That's why you've heard Minister Kim talking about the Tri-30, where you put the trying to get people back to work and putting monies for those to get back to work. That's why you have $12 million, which we put available for contractors, small contractors, to be able to get a slice of the pie. That's why you also have the focus on entrepreneurial activity and also providing the retail rescue package. And I know everybody likes a little bit of retail therapy, and I know that everybody called me every rich name but the name my mother gave me when they heard about the increase in the duty. But think of it from this point of view. What are we trying to do? At the time you had it's almost like a cascade. You had a number of redundancies announced. People whom you knew lost jobs. What is one of the sectors that has a lot of Bermudians employed? Imagine our retail sector with hundreds having to be laid off. What would be the effect of that, both in terms of social health as well as economic health? What we have to seek to do is to preserve jobs. How do you seek to preserve jobs? Government's cash flows are tight also, but we have a responsibility to try and get the engine primed a bit more. So we said, okay, we're going to take a hit in terms of losing revenue, but it's in the wider public interest for us to be making some rescue package available to our retail sector. We can't do it forever, but let's say for a 6-month period. And that should help them to somewhere under threat of possibly closing a particular week and having to let people out. That helped to stem the tide, but at the same time you also had to plug other holes.